thank you for ordering these rare recordings of Lester Levenson. The first 3 tapes were recorded in the summer of 1989. Lester was speaking to a small group of staff at the retreat center. The last tape was recorded in 1973 at what was called Self Haven. Enjoy. The following session was recorded May 21st, 1989.
The way you've been doing it, the track record is that take almost forever. Because how long should it take to do a 3-month job? Or 3 months or less? In other words, you were not doing it. You were toying with it, playing with it, using it to better what you really want, the world. If you were using it to go to the infinite being that you are, you already would have been free. Does that make sense? So what's missing is your want to. Your want to is the world. And if it's the world, it's the opposite of your unlimited beingness. And each Sunday I've been trying to give you something really substantial to work with. Can you remember what the first one was? Anyone here remember? Right, that's step number 1. And it's step number 1 of the method, isn't it? You've got to want freedom more than you want the world. Let me change that around a bit. That's the way it was originally. It seemed to be meaningless to people, so we changed it to you must want freedom more than you want approval or control. Well, approval and control equates to the world. But I think it's better put, you must want freedom more than you want the world. And if you do, then what's your behavior from there on? Turning your head away from the world and focusing it back on you. Doing that which is required to detach you from the world and allow your infinite beingness just to be. So step number 1 is you've got to want freedom more than you want the world. What was the second Sunday on? Do you remember? Wasn't that the last time? Okay, the number 1 hold down is the wanting to survive as a body, which comes out as the fear of dying. Out of that evolves every other feeling. If I get everyone's approval, I'm safe, I'll survive as a body. If I can't get their approval, I want to make them approve of me, so I'll be safe and survive and have control. But because you're so fearful of allowing the feelings of the fear of dying to come up, you need to work with approval and control first. And when you release that appreciably, naturally up comes the bottom, fear of dying, for you to release. But I think you've done enough on approval and control to directly attack the fear of dying and work on that, and work on that. And when you get stuck, use the how-to and the method. Let go of wanting to change the feeling of stuckness. if it's a vague feeling, let go of wanting to change that vague feeling, and it releases, and then you can attack the fear of dying feeling. That first little release will allow you to move up to the place where you'll discriminate and realize the fear of dying is only a feeling. And that right now you're equating it to actual death. And that's why you don't allow it up. If you didn't equate the feeling of the fear, if you didn't equate the fear of dying to death itself, you'd let it right up and you'd go free in a matter of a week or two. And it is pushing hard to get up and get out. It's the most suppressed feeling we have. And you're doing a beautiful job of suppressing it and holding it down. So last time we did something that's been done for the very first time. Focus in on the fear of dying feeling. I generally avoid it because most people jam on it rather than carry it through. But I think you're ready, if you're committed, as you say you are, to allow the feelings of the fear of dying up and allow them to go out. Did you hear that word, allow? That's just the way it happens. Instead of holding it down, you allow it up and out. Because it's trying to push up and out all the time. Every suppressed feeling is. So when you do it, it's easy. It comes up in waves and goes out until the waves stop and then you're finished. I want to give you another very practical thing that'll help you go free. And it is this. Whatever you do, whatever you want now, get it by releasing only. Whatever you want, get it by releasing only. I'm underlining only. Now, it might kill you because it's so easy, it drops into your lap. Is there anyone who has not experienced getting something with no effort through releasing? So every one of you has experienced getting something just through releasing. No effort, no doing, just releasing. And it drops into your experience. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? You've done it. You've done it more than once. And all things are possible when you do it that way. Okay, so the point I'm making now is from here on, everything you want, make it a point to get it via releasing. Do you think you ought to write that down? I'm afraid you'll forget it the moment I stop talking to you. That means your life is going to be beautiful from here on. Oh, God is right.
We can put away all of our work clothes.
You got some lemonade.
Yes, right. I like her some lemonade.
From here on, get everything you want by releasing. And now what will that do? It'll get you into the habit of releasing. It'll get you to use it more and more and more until it's natural, like breathing. Now, your greatest prize is not going to be the getting of the things that you want, but in your state of beingness. You'll move into that high state. Because when you let go, by releasing, it's letting go and letting God. Can God do it? You need money? Does God have money? He could give you $1 trillion tomorrow if you would let Him. It's just a letting. And basically, it's a letting go of the ego sense. I, me, my body, mind. Letting go of the ego sense is letting God do it. It's letting the God part of you, your beingness, do it. That's simple, isn't it? What I've said so far. Okay, what you need is one of these electrical prods that the Chinese authorities used yesterday on the mobs in Beijing, try to break them up. Cattle prods. They're electric shocks. You know, it's an idea.
That idea on Star Trek movie where the controllers with brains in a glass jar controlled the population, and they had hooked up to every person a gadget, and the person, if they thought a wrong thought, they would give them.
Find out where they bought them.
Okay. I think that would be very useful. I really do.
Home Depot. Maybe that's what we need to set up here, is a Home Depot with a capital H. H for heaven, highest. But this is an assignment. From here on, produce everything you want by releasing. Until it gets to be permanent. When it's permanent, you're awfully close to being free.
I'm a little confused. That means you take no action physically?
No. In your mind, you take no action. When you release and you let it happen, your body goes through the motions. But you have a sense of being not the doer. It's not me, but the Father who worketh through me, is the sense. It's letting go of I, me, ego sense and letting God run the body.
That's what I did when I did
You do it all the time. Things get to be effortless. You'll be surprised. And it's almost like this. Now, to lift your arm takes effort. If you release, your arm floats up with no effort. And that applies to everything. There's no effort. When you let go of the ego sense, there's no effort. And it drops into your experience. When you do it enough, you'll learn to create instantly. That means materializing and dematerializing things. Through this process, you'll learn to materialize. even gold. Of course, when you got the formula for making gold, you don't want to carry it around with you. It's heavy. The only thing you think of is what you want, what you need. You produce things for use, not to store up. Storing up, it shows uncertainty, the feeling I can't have, so I better build it up for the future. Yeah, how many pockets does Babaji have in his They never carry things with them. If they want something, they materialize it. So again, starting today, we get everything we want through releasing. And I suggest you put up a sign in your room. Get everything only through releasing. And I think you need to really put it up over your mirror when you look at least once in the morning or wherever it's obvious. Put it up in a very obvious place. Because it's obvious that even though you've released more than once and achieved something dropping into your experience, you don't want to remember it. You prefer to do things the hard way. You love to grovel. And this will take you out of your hovel of grovel and help you solve all problems.
The thing about we love to grovel, I had an awareness a couple of weeks ago. I was asking myself, why don't I let God do it? Why am I struggling? And the answer came, because if God does it, then you won't get the approval. So that was a very good eye-opener. We don't want him to do it, so we get to approve. Look what I did. Look how I struggled.
Every time you've released completely on something, no matter how impossible it was before you released, it became immediately possible when you released. No matter what it was. No matter what it was. I'm saying that to dare you to think big. I've said so much, and what I've said to you so far, I feel like cutting it now and letting you stay with that. Do you have any questions?
Question about what the second week was. We covered the first, third, and fourth. I was here that week. Was the fifth week? There were several things we talked about. One of the weeks I was gone. Remember what it was? I went to California.
Were you there when we decided to release directly on the fear of dying?
Yeah, that was last week.
Oh, the weekend, the question you were answering that week was how to get there faster, how to increase your wanting.
And what was the answer to that question?
The decision.
Oh, right. That was it.
I think you're the one that asked the question.
I know. Answered it so well I totally forgot. When you make a decision to go free, it comes rapidly.
And the other question I have is about releasing on the fear of dying. Does that understand you to mean that in our workshops that we should even go as far as, instead of asking is that approval or control, is that survival? Or is that
Yes,
fear?
under the approval and control, the workshop leader, Hale, will then ask you, look at the fear of dying underneath it. The reason why you want approval or control is so that you'll survive. So it's up to the workshop leader to lead you further down. Now, if they jam, then release them on their feeling of being jammed. And when that's let go of, then they can confront again the fear of dying. If they jam, it's just running away from the fear of dying, as though the feeling is tantamount to death. You keep reminding them it's only a feeling. The fear of dying is only a feeling. And feelings don't bite, they don't shoot you, they don't hit you over the head.
Bound.
No, you do.
One, and you do.
It's only a feeling, like every other feeling. But the tendency to run away from it is very strong and very habituated. So now you've got to make the effort to get it up and get it out. And once you start letting it up and letting it out, you'll discover you don't die each time the feeling comes up. You survive so you can look at it again and again.
Something came to mind that Enrica said in one workshop that was very good. Described it with releasing on his neighbor. She said to her neighbor, and he couldn't do it. So she said, well, release on this table, cup on the table. And then he did, and she said it's the same thing. It's just a feeling. It doesn't matter what it's on. It's the same thing.
And then he released on the neighbor. Okay, that's one of the ways of a leader taking a person through a release. You can't release on anything, you release on the wall. You like the color, don't you like the color? So what you're telling me is that she's using a process that works.
So we should do the same thing in death. It comes up and it becomes overwhelming and start releasing something in the room.
Well, no.
Well,
Now you're contradicting what I said.
okay.
See, now you're going way down to the elementary way of releasing. I'm trying to hold you up at the postgraduate level. I'm taking you out of grammar school, high school, college, and putting you into the postgraduate college work. No, release the feeling of stuckness. See how you want to change things that I tell you? Release only the feelings of the stuckness or even the vagueness of the feeling. You might not even see it because you're trying to run away from it. Release wanting to change that vague feeling, whatever it is. That goes out, then you're able to approach the fear of dying again. Now also needs to be thrown in the fear of living, which is the opposite side of the same coin. Because it is in a lot of us wanting to die. to get away from everything. So wanting to live, wanting to die, fear of dying, fear of living. Those four things can be played with. Maybe you ought to write them down, or do you think you got them? Now this should have an astounding...
I know, I used it when I got all the stuff.
It used to all rest on me when I had that experience.
This ought to lead to an astounding change in every one of you. And it will if you carry it through. You're being asked to do that which will get you free rapidly. You can do it here because you don't have the world telling you just the opposite, pulling you in just the opposite direction. Here you don't have the world pulling you. So you can stay with it.
I was working on the fear of dying one time, and I brought up a lot of heavy physical pain. So I must have been doing something wrong, but it took a long time to work through it.
Instead of releasing it, you were expressing it on the body. You were making the body die. Pain is towards death. So instead of releasing it, you were expressing it into the body.
So if I get into that again, I'd have to say I think that slowed down my releasing when that happened. After that, I still haven't let go of
All right.
all that it was. So what can I do to get through that again?
Talk to the workshop leader. Let him take you through it. Or keep releasing the stuck feelings. See, instead of releasing the stuck feeling, you kept it going. You were stuck with the stuck feeling, and you kept it stuck.
Stuck with pain.
Can you see how simple it is? It's really simple if you'll do it. All right, now you got me propping Hale, and Hale will prop you, and we'll all be proper in the future. Which means releasing the fear of dying, getting everything we want via releasing only. Doing it without effort. Be not the doer. Again, to aid your intellect, it's just letting go and letting God. I think you accept that God can do it. If He can't, I'll get you another God who can. But it's a let go and let God experience, and it drops into your experience, right into your lap, with no effort.
About the approval program and the control program. We're wanting approval. If we can't get approval, then we want control so we can get approval. Is that what you said? Okay. How does that work when, okay, you're sitting in your room and there's an insect and you want to control that?
Why don't you answer these questions yourself? Why do you have to have me answer a question like that? You see why you want me to answer it? You want my approval. You want my attention. A question like that you can answer. Now you're bothered because you feel that maybe I'm putting you down. I won't approve of you. But all these little intellectual questions you can answer yourself. And they get you nowhere. Fast. they take the place of releasing. Instead of releasing, you're questioning things. The whys and wherefores of things never give you any answer. They just satisfy the intellect, which is the thing you want to get rid of. So, police release only. Don't ask why. Why this, why that. Dumb question in the first place, because asking why. Now, why isn't it the way I think it should be? That's what you're saying. Whenever you ask why, you're asking someone to explain it so it fits in with your knowledge, which is lower than college. That's down in elementary school. So try to get out of the habit of why questioning. Just do it. Throwing up whys is specifically avoiding doing it. So get wise, kill the wise. Get W-I-S-E and kill the W-H-Y-S. Okay. I think we can end the session now.
The following session was recorded June 4th, 1989.
It's in the same direction. But I'm making it more practical. Whatever you do it to perfection, no matter what it is. Don't do halfway jobs. You discover a free one does that naturally. Whatever the free one does, he or she does it to perfection. So it's a very practical tool. Whatever you do, no matter what it is, you do it so that you're free in no time flat. How long should it take to be what you are right now? That's how much time it should take to go free. You're free right now in your beingness. You're bound in your ego sense. I took out of Brahmana Maharshi something I thought I'd give you maybe next time, but I'll give it to you now. Work is no hindrance to realization. Doing things does not block you from realization. It is the sense of wrong identification that is the source of all your trouble. Get rid of the false identification. And what's the false identification? You are the doer. And you've all experienced from releasing that when you're released, it happens. You're not the doer. As I told Alan, like when Yogananda was sitting in a bed, it was very high, and trying to get his balance, raised his hand and went up effortlessly. When you're not the doer, and you want your hand to go up, it just floats up with no effort in everything you do. same thing happens. No energy, no effort is necessary. So, being in action is no hindrance. The hindrance is identifying as being the limited body-mind, as identifying with the ego. If you tried to do no action, you wouldn't succeed. Because your karma is driving you now into action. So if you try to do nothing, you wouldn't succeed. Whatever your karma is, you would do. So trying to do nothing doesn't help. Only releasing helps. And only releasing will get you all the way. As fast as you will do it. So the action, rather than being a hindrance, is really a help. Because as you're in action, you're being pushed by your feelings, which bring up more feelings while you're in action, for you to release all your feelings. So you must do it in the world, you must do it in action. You cannot do it isolated. When you isolate, you just escape. So the next major point to write down on your script or whatever you got is whatever you do it to perfection. That's behaving like a master. Behaving like a master brings up the objections to it for your releasing. If you don't do things to perfection, it's because actually your destructiveness, your non-constructiveness, causes you to do it not to perfection. But if you make it a point to do it to perfection, up will come these feelings that are anti for your releasing. So make it a point to do whatever you're doing very successfully. That word perfection might not be understood. Success might be better understood. Whatever you do, you should be successful in doing it. Okay, I think I gave you enough for today. These points are so potent. Any one of them that we've had will extremely expedite your going free. They're very practical and right down to earth, how to behave in your everyday life. You'll be doing them in your everyday life things that get you free rather than what you're doing now. What you're doing now keeps you bound in the round. And around and around you go. You're on a merry-go-round. But if you do these things, you get off the merry-go-round. You'll stop spinning.
Later. Part session.
I could give it to you from here on every time I meet you if you won't kill me. I could always keep pointing out things that you're doing that keep you going in the wrong direction of limitation.
Why don't we try that? I don't know if anybody else is in agreement, but you always talked about in the days when you were giving ego presentation, people grew rapidly. So why don't we try that? Is that something that would help us grow?
Ooh, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't think so. Because what happened before was that every one of them stopped growing, stopped dead. The whole gang that was out there.
They didn't have a release technique either, did they?
Right. They didn't have. Yes, they did. I gave it to them one-on-one all the time, without putting them through the formal course. And yeah, they all had it before we broke up.
Yeah, before, but not long before.
Okay, they could have released.
That's true, yeah.
They did. Now, I know what happened. After it happens, I can see the cause of it. If I give you ego presentation more than you want it, you unconsciously build up a resistance to hearing anything I have to say after a while. You stop growing, period. So there's a delicate balance. I can do it lightly. The way I'm doing it now is not as heavy as the ego presentation used to be. But I'll try it. Let's see what happens.
We'll need more workshops.
You talk about trying it, but I'd have to say over the last month or so, you've definitely turned the heat up from what you had before. So it's already in progress.
See, that's another problem. That's another problem I have. I think I'm going to do something. A higher power says otherwise. When you go free, your thinking mechanism is overridden by the highest beingness called God. What are you going to ask?
Who is, that's the higher self of God?
The bottom line is you. Ramana Maharshi says, at times, there is no God, there's you. Show me God. Can you show, anyone here can show me God? Have you ever seen God? Ever get a letter from him? You ever shake his hand? So he says, there's no God, but there's you. And in your beingness, you are that God that you're conjuring up. Your beingness is what the world calls God. And when you release your ego sense and drop into your beingness, you're all-knowing, you're all-powerful, and you're everywhere present. Isn't it simple? Isn't that nice? What a present I gave you. You're God, you're God, you're God, you're God, you're God, you're God. Hope we can get on there. But you can see why I can talk that way. Is there a God? Sure. I'm looking at him. And that's what you're looking at all the time, saying otherwise. See, I can condemn him to hell. Wish him every bad thing there is. But not really, because it's me, my beingness. So when I voice it to you, I really don't mean it. Anything derogatory. Is there a God? Yeah. Thou art that. from the east, from the west, I am that I am. I'm still not sure if that's the only capitalized sentence. Come in. That's God.
Close the door.
Hey, George, he burns. Close the door. I just want to prove God is one. Not me and George Burns. He's just acting like one. Sure trying to hold on to his eternality through the physical body. He's in his 90s now, and he still gets on stage on special shows. He still gets up, talks, sings, dances. At least he thinks he's dancing. He just about moves. Anyway, God is the one single infinite beingness of the universe. Therefore, that must include us. It's the part of us that's our beingness. It's a car. So I got thrown off. I don't want mopeds around here. Dopeds we have enough. We don't have to have any mopeds to it. I was thinking how to stop outside people from coming in with the proper sign out of the cattle guard.
Danger, radioactivity.
What about beware of the dog? Whoever talks and says, I am the dog. Why don't we put up an electronic system? Put up a sign, beware of the dog, and if they walk in, they break an electronic beam which plays a very loud barking. We'd have to get a real dog on tape. Anyway, someday we'll have to have a receptionist out at an entrance point when the traffic gets heavier.
We could easily put up electronic gate and a little voice thing that you have the intercom, you press it if you want in. Otherwise, people that know could get in easily without even getting out of their car. So.
Maybe that's a better idea, and give it to Frank and his people.
It costs $400 or $500 for the gate. So.
Well, the way we like to waste money, I don't know. Oh, what did the two Indians want last week?
They never came back.
My scalp is my own then.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to lift that. Nancy told me yesterday or the day before, insurance cannot be granted unless that paper is lifted. So when I get back to town, I'll go to work at it, try to lift it. But I sure can shift from the top to the bottom. What were we talking about? God?
Yeah.
God of the dogs.
Yeah, is there a God? I said, yeah, I'm looking at it. But I look at you and I see God. You say, no, Lester, you're a liar. I'm an extremely limited carcass. If my temperature goes up 10 degrees, I die. If I get a chemical in me, I die. If I don't put in vegetation to ferment it and make garbage out of it, I die. This is what you're saying. No, I am not the unlimited being. I'm a carcass. And someday you'll see you imaged it in your mind, needing all these little limitations. So what do you need to do? I summed up the 4 days sessions we had before. The first one was, you want the world more than you want freedom. And with it, you should take all your joy from yourself, from within, by releasing. That was session number 1. Session number 2 was, you must make the decision to go free and then do it. However, if you make the decision to go free, you will do it. It's that simple. If you're not free, you have not made the decision to go free. Because once you make the decision, everything you do after that is orientated toward going free. The prime thing of is making releasing constant. The third session was, go directly to the fear of dying and release it. Release directly the fear of dying. As you know, underneath approval and control is the fear of dying. So get rid of the bottom motivator, and you're finished. The fourth one was, get everything you want from here on by releasing. I guess that is the most practical of the 4. How successful have you been? Or are you still doing it mostly ego-wise? Remember, when you do it by releasing, it's effortless. If you're making an effort, that's ego-motivated.
So I get confused about the action part of it. You're just saying it's effortless. The body acts to get it, but it's without.
Yes, it's without effort. It's like floating through the air, floating through the thing. As I explained, if you wanted to lift your arm up, it takes no effort. It just floats up. No energy is required. So effortlessness is when I say I am not the doer and I let it happen. Another way of expressing is letting go and letting God. But your actual experience is no effort.
It makes it a lot clearer because we could actually go through, the body could go through all the actions of the day, doing things, and yet be effortless if we stay released.
Right. That's it. I think the last time, didn't I read something that Ramana said that action doesn't stop one from realization. Identifying as the doer does. So bottom line, it's sums up to, I am my beingness. And when you come from your beingness, you'll just watch the bodies float around, including your own, exactly as you would watch them on a movie screen. And when bodies on a movie screen start shooting even bullets and wiping each other out, you know it for what it is. Just an imagined thing. There's no death. You can imagine, image a death. Actually, there is no such thing as death. Get rid of the imaging, get rid of the imagination, get rid of the mind, and all I'm saying to you is very obvious. And again, you'll never stop struggling until you do go all the way to freedom. These 4 sessions, the first 4 sessions are so powerful. I decided not to add to it. I could go on with more things like that. I think it'll get to be maybe a little more confusing. But if I leave it as it is, it's simpler to understand and do. So we can go on talking about things related to this rather than new things. I don't want to overcomplicate it, because that's one of your serious problems. You've got everything overcomplicated right now. Life is simple. It's eternal. It's perfect. It's whole. Isn't that simple? Why pile things into the head that take you away from what I just said? Every thought is a limitation. Every thought is calculated to keep your body surviving. Every thought keeps you bound and around. So you must stop thinking. How? Release the fear of dying, and you don't have to struggle for survival anymore. Release the fear of dying, and you discover you are eternal. And all that misery you conjured up was ridiculous. Okay, I feel like stopping it right there, because again, I'm saying so much to you. Making it so simple, telling you you are it and you can't do anything about that, and telling you to stop looking otherwise, elsewhere, but into your own beingness.